Continuing from the previous episode 567. Chapter 1496, Commotion Everywhere. Bang! The moment the 9 bright stars in the sky were aligned, the entire world suddenly emitted a powerful energy fluctuation. A strange fog spread from the emptiness as a sound wave vaguely spread across the world. The world tide. It is indeed the same as what was stated on the ancient map. Xiao Yan slowly stood up on the top of the tree. He lifted his head, looked at the faint fog that covered the land, and muttered to himself. Swoosh! A couple rays of light swiftly rushed over from the star realm while Xiao Yan was muttering to himself. They appeared beside Xiao Yan in a couple of flashes. These rays of light were Yao Lao's group. The demonic flame is about to descend on the world. Yao Lao landed beside Xiao Yan and spoke in a grave voice. Xiao Yan nodded. Countless experts would be rushing to location of the purifying demonic lotus flame from tomorrow on. Even though many people knew that they did not possess the ability to subdue the purifying demonic lotus flame, all of them would adopt a hopeful attitude. After all, anyone who could obtain the purifying demonic lotus flame and refine it would undoubtedly experience a great leap in strength. At that time, one would even be able to easily win against an expert who far surpassed one's strength. That temptation was just too much to resist. When shall we get moving? Yao Lao asked. Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment upon hearing this question. His expression suddenly changed just before he could speak. He suddenly lifted his head as he looked at the night sky to the northwest. An intense light was emitted from the distant sky at that moment. This light contained an extremely terrifying temperature. It spread like a wave and reached an unbelievably large area. It was still possible for one to feel a heat rising within one's heart within the falling star pavilion. This is, the purifying demonic lotus flame has appeared in this world. Yao Lao sensed this unusual phenomenon. He inhaled a gentle breath of cool air. He had not expected this demonic flame to break its seal with such anxiety. Bang bang! Xiao Yan's hand gently pressed on his forehead. The mysterious light cluster suspended in his head had once again formed an intense ripple at this moment. Hu! Xiao Yan exhaled a long breath of air. A thought passed through his mind as he gradually suppressed the unusual movements of the light cluster. With his perfect heavenly state spiritual strength, he might not be able to enter the cluster of light, but it was not much of a problem for him to suppress it. We will leave now. Regardless of what the situation is like, we should head over to take a look before deciding what to do. Xiao Yan spoke in a deep voice. His eyes flashed after suppressing that light cluster. The speed at which the demonic flame had appeared was much faster than he had anticipated. It was likely that various experts were beginning to hurry over. Xiao Yan's group needed to swiftly reach that place. Even if they did not intend to act immediately, it would be best to gain a clear view of the situation as soon as possible. Yao Lao was startled, but he did not say anything more. A long whistle was emitted from his mouth. That whistle spread over the well-lit star realm as many figures began to hurriedly fly over from various parts of it. Finally, they floated in the sky. The people right in front of this group was the first elder of the small pill tower, Ancestor Huo Yun, and the flower sects Fairy Qing and Fairy Hua. This trip is extremely critical. I already invited them over 2 days ago. Yao Lao smiled as he informed Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan titled his in acknowledgement. At this moment, each additional person was more strength, meaning an additional chance of success. Everyone, this trip is fraught with danger. If anyone meets with danger that you are no match for, please withdraw. The most important thing is to preserve one's strength. Xiao Yan spoke in a deep voice. The experts present were considered the elite forces of the alliance. If their losses were too great, it would severely hurt the core of the alliance. Snatching the purifying demonic lotus flame might be important, but there was no need for unnecessary sacrifices in order to obtain it. Understood. The many human figures in the sky cried out in unison upon hearing Xiao Yan's orders. Xiao Yan's strength and reputation within the alliance was not inferior to Yao Lao's prestige. No one dared to go against his words. Let's go! Xiao Yan did not utter any unnecessary words upon hearing them agree. He waved his hand and his body turned into a ray of light that swiftly rushed out of the star realm. After which, they rushed toward the location where the demonic flame had appeared with lightning-like speed. A large group shot through the sky behind them. Large groups of people were flying from various sects and factions across the central plains while the falling star pavilion was maneuvering their people. After which, every group was accompanied by the buzzing sound of rushing wind as they flew through the sky a batch at a time. Their destination was the northwestern region of the Central Plains. Within a short night, the entire Central Plains had turned into a mess. Swoosh! The loud sound of wind being split suddenly blew across the sky as a large group of people flew over from the distant horizon. We are entering the area 500 kilometers from where the demonic flame has appeared. Xiao Yan lifted his head. His eyes observed the distant area in front. A glaring light was being emitted like a dazzling sun in that direction. Wave after wave of terrifying heat came pouncing over as they approached. Even though those present in this trip were all extremely strong individuals, many of them were still covered in perspiration. It is indeed worthy of being the purifying demonic lotus flame. Just the heat that is being emitted will make it difficult for 6-star and above elite Do Zuns to resist. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over the people behind him. His brow was involuntarily knit. A 6-star elite Do Zun could be considered a top-tier expert across the continent. However, this strength was barely able to resist the remnant heat of the purifying demonic lotus flame. From this heat, one could tell just how terrifying the purifying demonic lotus flame was. Xiao Yan, we have met at least 10 groups along the way. Their aim is clearly the purifying demonic lotus flame. It seems like there will be an earth-shaking fight over it this time around. Ziyan's pretty eyes swept around her as she spoke. Xiao Yan slightly nodded. They had indeed met quite a number of groups with the same intentions along the way, but he did not pay much attention to them. Although those people were quite strong, they were still a little too weak to snatch the purifying demonic lotus flame. I wonder whether the Hun clan and the other ancient clans have already reached. Xiao Yan's eyes scanned the area far in front of him as this thought flashed through his heart. He once again waved his hand and cried out in a deep voice, "Increase our speed." The 500-kilometer distance could be covered by experts like Xiao Yan within a couple of minutes. Although there was a large group delaying him, the entire group gradually reached the mountainous region where the demonic flame had descended around 20 minutes later. The lush green mountain range had completely vanished. Only a cream-white desert remained. A terrifying heat radiated from the ground, causing the area within a 500-kilometer radius to reveal a distortion. What a terrifying flame this purifying demonic lotus flame is. It has actually incinerated such an enormous mountain range into a desert. Yao Lao involuntarily inhaled a breath of cool air as he looked at the enormous desert that appeared in front of him. His face was filled with shock. Xiao Yan slightly nodded. A flame surged from his body and wrapped around everyone from the alliance. Only then was the searing pain on his skin reduced. After which, he lifted his head and looked at the distant sky. That area had already been split apart. A cream-white light broke from the space and poured down. The light emitted a terrifying temperature that even the soul was unable to endure. The space that sealed the purifying demonic lotus flame has already been broken. However, the demonic flame has not appeared. It is probably still in that realm. This cream-white light is merely its lingering heat. Xiao Yan softly explained after seeing this scene. Lingering heat. Even with Ziyan's strength, her face involuntarily changed upon hearing these words. A little lingering heat was able to incinerate the mountain range and turn it into a desert. Just how frightening would it be if they entered that realm? Swoosh swoosh. Soon after Xiao Yan's group appeared in this desert, waves of the sound of rushing wind were transmitted from every direction. Numerous figures came to a halt far from that broken space. Their eyes contained some horror as they stared at this cream-white desert. They were aware that this place had originally been a mountainous region that had been filled with life before this night. From the looks of it, it seems that we must enter that realm in order to obtain the purifying demonic lotus flame. Yao Lao stared at the space above for a long time before speaking. There is no need to hurry. This realm is fraught with all sorts of danger. We are not qualified to be the first to step forward. Xiao Yan shook his head. Even he could sense an immense danger. If this group of theirs were to hastily enter, hardly any of them would be able to escape alive. Yao Lao nodded. Being an alchemist, he was naturally able to detect just how frightening it would be within that broken space. Kai. The space near them suddenly fluctuated while Xiao Yan's group carefully waited. A dense black fog seeped out in all directions from this fluctuation. A frightening aura that caused one's expression to alter, quietly spread. It immediately attracted all the eyes present. Many pairs of eyes glanced at the spot where the black fog had appeared. Finally, the black fog slowly scattered, and a couple of human figures appeared in front of everyone's sight. That is, the Chief of the Hall of Souls? Yao Lao's group narrowed their eyes as they looked at the black-robed human figure leading the group. That figure possessed a frightening aura. The dou qi within their bodies began to quietly circulate. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 568. Chapter 1497. 8 Wasteland Destruction Flame. 3 figures slowly surfaced from the black fog. One of them was wearing black robes. There was nothing special about his face. He appeared just like an ordinary person as a pair of rough hands rolled from his sleeves, but it was this ordinary figure that caused most people present to cease breathing. Their eyes were grave and afraid. Chief of the Hall of Souls. These 4 simple words held a prestige that no one in this Central Plains could compare with. Even though this mighty name had been accumulated through years of bloodshed, not a single faction other than the new Sky Mansion Alliance dared to openly display their hostility to them. Part of the reason for this might be due to the Hun clan, but the Hall of Souls also possessed a deterrence that belonged to them. In the distant past, the Chief of the Hall of Souls had once exterminated dozens of sects overnight. Blood flowed like a river that night while corpses were scattered all over the land. 5 experts who had reached the 2nd star of the Dou Shen class had fallen miserably to his hands. That night established the ferocious reputation of the Hall of Souls. It also led to the Hall of Souls being the overlord of the Central Plains. Even the Pill Tower did not dare to easily clash with him. At this moment, this mighty person, whose fierce reputation was once infamous across the entire Central Plains, was quietly floating in the sky. His eyes were just like a meditating old monk since they did not reveal the slightest fluctuation. Regardless of whether the gazes from his surroundings were filled with fear or hatred, he never shifted his eyes. Chief of the Hall of Souls. Xiao Yan's eyes slightly narrowed. His gaze roamed the figure. The faint spiritual fluctuation that was emitted from within the chief's body was the same as the powerful soul Xiao Yan had met a couple of days ago. While Xiao Yan was observing the Chief of the Hall of Souls, the Chief of the Hall of Souls seemed to have detected something and slowly turned his head. Those ancient rippleless well-like eyes landed on Xiao Yan. He observed Xiao Yan before speaking in an indifferent voice. The fallen Xiao clan has actually produced someone with such talent. This is a failure on the part of my Hall of Souls. Hall Chief, this brat is too cunning. Although we never viewed him seriously in the past, the experts we dispatched each time were all more than enough to kill him, but each time around, he always overcame the danger. Moreover, his strength also ended up soaring. A human figure behind the Chief of the Hall of Souls spoke in a respectful manner. He slowly lifted his head and revealed half of his face. It naturally belonged to the Deputy Chief of the Hall of Souls. In time to come, this fellow might end up becoming another Xiao Zhan. The Chief of the Hall of Souls ignored the Deputy Chief's words and continued to speak in a calm voice. His voice remained calm, appearing a little strange and mysterious. The Deputy Hall Chief widened his mouth after hearing the Chief of the Hall of Souls give Xiao Yan such a high evaluation. He looked at the figure next to him who had yet to speak and dryly laughed. Regardless of how strong that brat is, he is not be stronger than Junior Clan Head. Even if Xiao Yan will be the next Xiao Zhan, it should be known that Xiao Zhan's fate was not a good one. Ha! An undefined laugh was emitted from the nostrils of the Hall of Souls' chief. He slowly shook his head and softly said, "That's hard to predict." He possesses 5 types of heavenly flames, namely the Green Lotus Core Flame, Falling Heart Flame, Sea Heart Flame, Bone Chilling Flame, and the 3000 Burning Flame. Heavenly flames are far too wild and violent. They will definitely try engulfing each other upon contact, but he is able to deal with them peacefully. This should be an effect of his chi method. That human figure slowly lifted his head while the Chief of the Hall of Souls looked at him. Light landed on his face, revealing the face of a man that was in his 30s. The face appeared quite young, but there was no expression on it. Joy and sadness were absent. It gave one the feeling that all his features were stiff. Of course, the most eye-catching feature was this person's eyes. Both of his eyes were dark black. They were a kind of extremely pure black. There were no whiteness in his eyes. Only a cluster of ink-like blackness was present. Looking from a distance, it appeared as though two black beads had forcefully been inserted into his eyes. A chill would rise within one's heart upon being looked at by that pair of eyes. This person turned his head and observed Xiao Yan from a great distance. His voice was soft and cold. Based on what I am aware of, Yao Chen once obtained a mysterious qi method that could merge heavenly flames from that ancient remains. Xiao Yan is practicing that qi method. The reason he is able to swiftly advance to this level is because of that qi method. Of course, one must also not underestimate his ability. Even if an ordinary person practices this qi method, that person might not end up better than him. After having merely observed Xiao Yan from afar, this person was not only able to see through the heavenly flames within Xiao Yan's body, he was also able to guess the origin of the qi method that Xiao Yan practiced. His observation skills would cause one to break out in cold sweat. He is a very difficult opponent to deal with, however, I should be able to kill him. The black-robed man slowly stated. Ha, that's only natural. Although Junior Clan Head is merely an advanced 2-star Do Sheng, even I would not be able to defeat you. It is an easy matter for you to kill the initial 2-star Do Sheng Xiao Yan. Looks like the position of Clan Head of the Hun Clan will belong to Junior Clan Head in the future. The deputy chief of the Hall of Souls smiled as he tried to curry favor. The black-robed man curled his mouth upon hearing these words. However, he looked at the deputy chief of the Hall of Souls and said, "You should listen to what the Hall Chief is thinking before uttering these words. Junior Clan Head is thinking too much. The Clan Head has an overwhelming strength and has been in control of the Hun Clan for thousands of years without showing any sign of tiring. It is too early to talk about these matters." The Hall Chief faintly smiled before he shook his head and replied. The black-robed man gently lifted his eyelids, but did not continue discussing this somewhat taboo topic. His eyes shifted away from Xiao Yan as he looked at the shattered space. He asked, "When should we act?" Wait for the purifying demonic lotus flame to break the seal. This will make it lose quite a lot of energy. We will act once it is about to break the seal. The rough large hands of the Hall of Souls chief crossed each other as he spoke. The black-robed man slightly nodded. His pure black eyes once again glared at Xiao Yan in the distance before he shut his eyes. Is that the chief of the Hall of Souls? He is indeed frightening. Ancestor Hu Yun and the rest withdrew their gazes. Their faces were filled with a grave expression as Ancestor Hu Yun made a comment. Xiao Yan slightly nodded. Only after seeing the chief of the Hall of Souls in person, he realized just how terrifyingly strong he was. Even Xiao Yan felt that he did not have any chance of victory against such an expert. This person is a great enemy. Be careful. The smile on Zi Yan's face by the side had disappeared. Her lovely body gently shifted half a step and coincidentally blocked half of Xiao Yan's body. She was the only one among those present who could block the chief of the Hall of Souls. Moreover, she understood that even if she fought him, she would be no match for him. The best result would be to retreat alone. Relax, they will not attack before obtaining the purifying demonic lotus flame. Xiao Yan shook his head and laughed. Ha, Brother Xiao Yan, you have also come to join the fun. A loud and clear laugh was suddenly transmitted over from the distance while Xiao Yan was reassuring everyone. The rushing sound of wind immediately appeared as a couple of figures appeared beside him with lightning-like speed. Xiao Yan's eyes followed the rushing sound of wind. A stunned expression flashed across his eyes. He hurriedly headed over before he cupped his hands together and warmly smiled. It is actually Brother Hu Zhan. It has been a long time since we last met. How are you? There were 3 human figures who had appeared from the rushing wind. The person leading them was a handsome man with white clothes. That familiar face was that of a member from the Yan clan whom Xiao Yan had become acquainted with in the Ji realm, Hu Zhan. Beside him was the same red-clothed lady with a veil over her face. This time around, there was an additional purple-clothed old man with them. Brother Xiao Yan is indeed an extraordinary person. It has only been a short couple of years since we have last met, yet you have actually reached the Do Sheng class. Huo Zhan cupped his hands to Xiao Yan as he praised. He had likely discovered Xiao Yan's current strength. Ha, isn't Brother Huo Zhan also a high-level Ban Sheng? Xiao Yan slightly smiled. His heart was somewhat shocked. The speed at which Hu Zhan's strength was increasing was quite ferocious. Had Xiao Yan not consumed the Bodhisattva heart, it was likely that he would have been left far behind. Inside your body. Xiao Yan's eyes carefully observed Huo Zan in front of him while he felt surprised. He let out a "huh" sound as he looked at the smiling Huo Zan and asked, "You have refined a heavenly flame?" "With the help of the elders, I have luckily subdued the 8 Wasteland destruction flame from the clan. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for my strength to soar by such an extent." Huo Zan smiled and did not hide anything. The 8 Wasteland destruction flame. Ranked 8th on the heavenly flame ranking? Xiao Yan's hand trembled. He was aware that the Yan clan possessed 4 types of heavenly flames. 2 among them were ranked in the top 10, but he had not expected the other flame, besides the Red Lotus Yi flame, to actually be the 8 Wasteland destruction flame. It is indeed worthy of being an ancient clan. It possesses such a collection. Xiao Yan was filled with envy within his heart. He had run all over the continent, but the highest-ranked heavenly flame he had obtained was merely ranked 9th, the 3000 burning flame. It was unexpected that this Hu Zan had obtained such a high-ranking heavenly flame after simply making a trip back. "Brother Xiao Yan, this is my Yan clan's elder Huo Yao. He also possesses a heavenly flame, but it is only ranked 16th, the Fire Cloud Water Flame." Huo Zan pointed at the purple-clothed elder beside him and laughed. "Another heavenly flame." Xiao Yan once again bitterly laughed upon hearing this. Putting it this way, the 3 people in front of him were carrying 3 types of heavenly flames from the Yan clan. If the 5 types of heavenly flames in him were included, would it not mean that a total of 8 types of heavenly flames were present? "Ha ha, Xiao Yan Gege, there are more than 8 types." A clear chime-like voice suddenly rinto Xiao Yan's ear as though it was aware of Xiao Yan's thoughts. "Xun Er." A joy immediately surged onto Xiao Yan's face the moment that bone-deep familiar voice was heard. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Continuing from the previous episode 569, Chapter 1498, Reunification with Xun Er. Xiao Yan lifted his head, which was filled with joy. He saw an intense ripple appear within distant space before a couple of figures slowly surfaced. The person in front was wearing elegant green clothes and appeared as lovely as a flower. Her pretty face displayed a gentle smile. Her black hair was randomly restrained by a pale green ribbon. It fell down like a waterfall before spread across her delicate waist. A gentle breeze blew over, causing her hair to drift. Her demeanor appeared just like a fairy that had descended to the mortal realm. Who else could that extremely elegant demeanor belong to other than Xun Er, whom Xiao Yan had not met for a long time? 2 people were following behind Xun Er. One of them possessed a familiar face. It was Jiyu Qingyang, a genius within the Jiyu clan, whose talent and bloodline was barely inferior to Xun Er. The other person was extremely unfamiliar. He was a white-haired old man in blue robes. A warm smile was always maintained on his face. That smile gave one a friendly feeling, but only a person with strong eyesight could vaguely sense the sharpness hidden under that smile. The sudden appearance of Xun Er's group immediately attracted many pairs of eyes. Numerous pairs of eyes swept over the trio before soft private conversations sprang up around them. The people and factions who could appear in this place were not ordinary people. They naturally understood that even though these ancient clans could truly be described as unparalleled super factions, even though they seemed to keep a low profile. The members of the Jiyu clan have indeed come. The deputy chief of the Hall of Souls frowned and softly spoke after Xun Er's group appeared. The purifying demonic lotus flame is not an ordinary heavenly flame. Even our Hun clan desires it. It is only natural that the Jiyu clan has acted well. The eyes of the Hall of Souls chief swept once over those 3. After which, they paused on the blue-robed elder. Surprise flashed across his eyes as he spoke in a faint voice, "Jiyu Nan Hai." It is unexpected that the Jiyu clan has dispatched him this time around. Although Jiyu Nane is powerful, it should not be difficult to stop him with Hall Chief's strength. The junior clan head in black clothes lifted his eyes and said, "There is an agreement between our ancient clans. Those who are 5-star Do Shengs and above cannot randomly intervene. The good thing is that the Hall Chief's strength is such that few people within this limit can beat you. Although those powerful individuals cannot intervene, they are definitely observing this place." The chief of the Hall of Souls laughed in a faint voice. He lifted his head and looked at empty space. It was as though there was someone lingering in that emptiness. "Xiao Yan Gege, You have finally become a Do Sheng. The elegant girl stood in front of Xiao Yan. A warm smile also spread across his face as he looked at the girl's pretty smile. Ji Yu Qing Yang and the blue-robed elder by the side involuntarily shook their heads. They had never seen Xun Er this happy within the Ji Yu clan. Something seemed to have hit the soft spot in Xiao Yan's heart as he looked at that ethereal-like girl in front of him. His thoughts, which had been suppressed, suddenly surged out from deep within his heart like floodwater. He immediately ignored the many pairs of eyes as he extended his hand to grab Xun Er's soft long arm. After which, he gently pulled and heavily hugged the beauty in front of him. The current Xiao Yan had truly grown. Regardless of whether it was in age or strength, Xiao Yan's current achievements made him completely worthy of her despite her being in possession of a divine bloodline that is seen only once in 1,000 years. Although Xun Er's strength was not weaker than his, such a young two-star Do Sheng was someone even an ancient clan like the Ji Yu clan could not underestimate. In other words, even if the current Xiao Yan were to head to the Ji Yu clan to propose marriage, no one would dare to say that he was not qualified to do so. A gentle arc surfaced on Xun Er's beautiful face after she was hugged by Xiao Yan. She gently leaned her face on Xiao Yan's shoulder as she somewhat greedily absorbed the familiar scent that she had not experienced for a long time. It had been 3 full years since they had last separated. Due to her being in possession of the Ji Yu clan's divine bloodline, she could not randomly leave the Ji Yu clan before she had become a Do Sheng. She could only endure the bitter torture of missing Xiao Yan in her heart in order to protect the continuation of the bloodline. She had put all her effort into training in order to obtain the freedom that belonged to her after reaching that class. Xiao Yan Gege, I have really missed you. Xun Er slightly turned her head. She looked at the side of Xiao Yan's face and curled her lips. A faint bewitchment surfaced on her elegant and beautiful face. Her mutter was quietly transmitted into Xiao Yan's ear. Xun Er will be free in the future. I will continue to accompany you. She had grown up in the Xiao clan since young because of the Ji Yu clan. She had also parted with Xiao Yan a long time ago because of the Ji Yu clan. Each meeting with Xiao Yan was short and hurried because of the Ji Yu clan. After each short meeting was year after year of waiting, she had gradually endured the days. From this moment on, she was finally able to arrange her time as she pleased. There was no need for her to be tightly managed by the Ji Yu clan. Xiao Yan was startled upon hearing her words. He immediately smiled and nodded. I'll say, the both of you aren't treating us as non-existent, are you? Ji Yu Qing Yang by the side helplessly opened his mouth and spoke while Xiao Yan and Xun Er were softly talking with each other. Xun Er's face reddened after hearing Ji Yu Qing Yang's words. She quickly regained her composure and gently freed herself from Xiao Yan's embrace. After which, her pretty eyes landed on Yao Lao, who was behind Xiao Yan. She bowed to him as someone from the younger generation. This must be Elder Yao Chen, right? Ha ha, little girl, we are acquainted with each other, but we have never met face to face. Yao also laughed. Xun Er had discovered him hiding on Xiao Yan a long time ago. At that time, she was unable to determine what his intentions were. Hence, she had even secretly warned him, but this was indeed the first time they had formally met. Elder Yao Chen, please do not continue to keep what happened in the past in your heart. Xun Er was a little apologetic upon hearing Yao Lao's reply. She had suspected that Yao Lao harbored ill intent for Xiao Yan. Hence, her tone was a little impolite back then, but the subsequent events indicated that if Yao Lao had not secretly aided Xiao Yan, the route that Xiao Yan would have taken would have been much worse. Haha, it's a small matter. I'm Xiao Yan's teacher. It would really be inappropriate if I am not magnanimous to my disciple's wife. Yao Lao fondled his beard and loudly laughed. His heart felt some joy upon seeing a somewhat embarrassed expression surface on Xun Er's face. He naturally understood Xun Er's status within the Ji Yu clan. Having someone of this status as his disciple's wife was something that would give him pride. Xiao Yan smiled. After which, he introduced Zi Yan by the side. Zi Yan and Xun Er were acquaintances, having met each other at Jianan Academy back then, but Xun Er had subsequently left and the two of them did not meet each other again due to various reasons. Now that they had met again, they felt as though they had changed. After all, one had been a young girl in Jianan Academy and the other had been a little girl who only knew how to play all day long. However, at this moment, the both of them possessed a peak strength on this continent. Xiaoyan Gege. This is Elder Gu Nane from my Gu clan. He is accompanying me to investigate the purifying demonic lotus flame this time around. Xun Er sweetly smiled and introduced the blue-robed old man behind her. Is the Gu clan also interested in the purifying demonic lotus flame? Xiaoyan's eyes looked at the blue-robed elder and felt shock within his heart. Although the feeling that this elder gave him was not as profound and unfathomable as the chief of the Hall of Souls, he was still much stronger than Ziyan. These ancient clans really possessed a strong foundation. It is not that we are interested in the purifying demonic lotus flame. It is likely that hardly anyone in this world can subdue that thing. It is fine as long as that flame does not land in the hands of the Hun clan. The blue-robed old man laughed. He did not try to show superiority through age. His tone was as though he was speaking to an equal and was extremely calm. He did not make things difficult for Xiaoyan like some elders from the Gu clan. The purifying demonic lotus flame has appeared in the past, but no one has managed to subdue it. The spatial seal present had been placed by the purifying demonic lotus saint. It is extremely mysterious. Even the purifying demonic lotus flame is not able to destroy it within a short amount of time. As long as it slows its attack by even a little, the seal will absorb the surrounding natural energy and repair itself before continuing to seal the flame. Xun Er grinned and explained. The Hun clan, on the other hand, has always been targeting the purifying demonic lotus flame. They have always come prepared. I wonder just what they are planning to do this time around. They do not seem to be doing anything. Xiaoyan glanced at the trio from the Hall of Souls and commented. They are waiting for the purifying demonic lotus flame to exhaust its strength from breaking the seal. Xun Er's eyes glanced at the man with black eyes among the trio from the Hall of Souls. She bunched her eyebrows as she softly said, Xiaoyan Gege should be careful of that person. That person is called Hun Feng. Those from the Hun clan call him Madman. This Hun Feng has extremely shocking talent and possesses the divine bloodline of the Hun clan. He is many times stronger than that Hun Yu, whom you met back then. According to the information that we have gathered, he is likely going to be the next clan head of the Hun clan if no accidents occur. Hun Feng specializes in fighting the levels above him. Since he has begun training, he has seldom fought against those weaker than him. Moreover, he is ruthless and merciless in his attacks. Even when sparring in the clan, there are injuries and deaths when he fights. As more time passed, no one in the same generation dared to fight with him. Even some of the elders within the Hun clan are quite afraid of him. You should be exceptionally careful when fighting him this time around. Xiaoyan's brows twitched. His eyes drifted over that man called Hun Feng before slowly nodding his head. The next clan head of the Hun clan was extremely frightening. Just what were his chances of victory if he fought with this person? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 570. Chapter 1499. Yao Wangu. However, Xiaoyan Gege has also advanced to the second star of the Do Shen class, and your actual fighting strength far surpasses this level. This is similar to that Hun Feng. It is impossible to predict just who will be defeated if you exchange blows. Xun Er sweetly smiled as she spoke. Xiaoyan grinned. His heart would not underestimate anyone. The members of the Hun clan were not friendly characters, yet this Hun Feng was able to become one of its top-notch experts and was even called the next clan head of the Hun clan. This was enough to indicate just how terrifying he was. Xiaoyan understood that this person would be a relatively troublesome enemy. Why is it that all of the ancient clans only dispatch a few people? Xiaoyan withdrew his focus and suddenly asked. He discovered that regardless of the Hun clan, the Gu clan, or the Yan clan, each of these clans only dispatched 3 people. Subduing the heavenly flame does not rely on a large number of people. It is best that these people of yours do not follow you in when you enter the realm. Otherwise, your losses will be unbearable. Jiyu Qingyang glanced at the group behind Xiaoyan. These were the elites within the Sky Mansion Alliance. They were large in numbers and possessed a strong aura, but he simply shook his head somewhat helplessly. Oh! Xiaoyan, Yao Lao, and the others were startled upon hearing this information. That space is fraught with danger after being managed by the purifying demonic lotus flame for thousands of years. Even an elite band Sheng will barely be able to preserve one's life after entering it. The blue-robed Jiyu Nane laughed as he added some more information. Thank you for the reminder. Xiao Yan was quietly speechless. He quietly felt a little fortunate. They were indeed inexperienced and could not be compared with these ancient clans. If Xun Er's group hadn't informed Xiao Yan's group, it was likely that Xiao Yan's group would have suffered serious injuries and deaths. Our ancient clans have an agreement among ourselves. Those top experts, whose strength exceeds the 5th star of the Do Sheng class, cannot randomly intervene. Hence, the experts that have been dispatched will not exceed the 5th star of the Do Sheng class. Xun Er softly explained. No wonder, Xiao Yan came to a sudden understanding. He had been feeling a little surprised as to why the Han clan did not dispatch any experts to deal with him after he had destroyed an important branch hall of the Hall of Souls. This was the reason why. The only person in the current Hall of Souls who caused Xiao Yan to feel fear was the chief of the Hall of Souls himself. However, this person was busy subduing the purifying demonic lotus flame and did not have time to deal with him. Hence, the Hall of Souls could only endure the losses. The purifying demonic lotus flame is extremely powerful. It will be a great help to anyone who subdues it, but it will be difficult to subdue it if one simply relies on experts below the 5th star of the Do Sheng class. No wonder no one has managed to subdue the purifying demonic lotus flame for thousands of years. Xiao Yan's eyes slightly flickered. This limiting condition did not really benefit these ancient clans, but it seemed that they were willing to create trouble for others. The purifying demonic lotus flame was far too powerful. Even if they could not obtain it, they would definitely not allow others to do so. Ha ha, Elder Huo Yao, it is unexpected that the Yan clan has actually dispatched you this time around. While this thought lingered in Xiao Yan's heart, Jiyu Nane's eyes suddenly shifted to Huo Zan's group, who were remaining quiet behind him. That purple-robed old man twitched his eyebrows slightly upon hearing this greeting. He immediately said, the clan head has instructed that it is best that the purifying demonic lotus flame remains without an owner. It will be best for everyone that way. Although this elder Huo Yao's words seemed calm, Xiao Yan could still hear some irritation in them. Jiyu Nane bitterly smiled and shook his head after hearing these words. He said, Elder Huo Yao, don't tell me that you really think that the disappearance of the Ling clan was caused by my Jiyu clan? Elder Huo Yao was quiet. Huo Zan and the red-clothed lady beside him exchanged looks but did not interfere in this matter. It is impossible to investigate this matter. However, the Jiyu clan and the Hun clan are the biggest suspects. It is necessary to remain cautious. Our Yan clan does not wish to share the same fate as the Ling clan. Huo Yao was quiet for a moment before he slowly opened his mouth and replied. He waved his hands after uttering those words. Finally, he turned around and hurried away. Huo Zan could only helplessly spread his hands to Xiao Yan before following Hu Yao. Oh! Jiyu Nane sighed after seeing Huo Yao leave. He continued to frown. It seems that the disappearance of the Ling clan has caused great discord to form between the ancient clans. Xiao Yan thought within his heart upon witnessing this exchange. If there was a party who was the murder between the Jiyu clan and the Hun clan, Xiao Yan would naturally think that the party would be from the Hun clan. The Ling clan had completely vanished without anyone realizing. No one could detect even the slightest clue. Even the many peak experts from the Jiyu clan were unable to discover anything beforehand. This had undoubtedly caused them to feel suspicious. After all, the only ones who could barely manage to quietly destroy the entire Ling clan were the Jiyu clan and the Hun clan. This matter was most likely done by the Hun clan. Their aim is to cause the few large ancient clans to be cautious against each other, making it impossible for any cooperation to occur. Xun Er's pretty eyes drifted in the direction of the Hall of Souls trio as she softly inferred. No one will believe us without evidence. Jiyu Nane shook his head while feeling a little helpless. He waved his hand and ceased getting entangled over this topic. His eyes swept around him before he said, the Lei clan, the Yao clan, and the Shi clan will definitely not miss the appearance of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Perhaps they will come here soon. Yao clan. Xiao Yan's eyes shifted upon hearing these words. He looked at Yao Lao and saw a complicated expression flash across Yao Lao's eyes. Now, we should quietly wait for the best opportunity to enter the realm. After that we can try and see if it is possible to subdue the purifying demonic lotus flame. Jiyu Nane let out a long sigh. Both of his hands were placed behind him as he lifted his head. His eyes locked onto the distorted space in the distant sky. A terrifyingly high temperature continued to spread from that tear in space. Cream white light was appearing more frequently. In the end, the desert below had vaguely become sticky. The sand began to gradually melt. The number of sounds of rushing wind appearing around the distortion increased as this desert gradually turned into magma. More and more experts had been attracted by the unusual phenomenon. Within half an hour, many figures had appeared, crowding the sky. However, most of these people were waiting a great distance from the broken space. Only those true experts like Xiao Yan dared to approach the area within 1,000 feet of the shattered space. The Lei clan and the Shi clan among the 8 ancient clans also arrived one after another while everyone was waiting. However, they did not approach after seeing Xun Er and the chief of the Hall of Souls. Instead, they hesitated for a moment before withdrawing some distance. From the looks of it, the disappearance of the Ling clan had caused them to feel fear and caution for the Jiyu clan and Hun clan. In the face of this kind of reaction, Xun Er could only shake her head. They did not have any evidence to prove that the Ling clan's disappearance was caused by the Han clan. Hence, they felt helpless because of this suspicion that had appeared out of nowhere. Time passed. Around half an hour after the Lei clan and the Shi clan arrived, the rushing sound of wind once again echoed from the horizon. There was a medicinal fragrance that was vaguely emitted from the wind. The members of the Yao clan. Xiao Yan's eyes became focused as he smelled this unique scent. He sensed Yao Lao's skin suddenly become a lot more tense. Swoosh! 3 figures flashed and appeared from the distant fluctuation within Xiao Yan's eyes. In a flash, they appeared in front of everyone. 3 unknown individuals appeared. There was a man, a woman, and an elderly person. The man was wearing a beautiful robe. His face was handsome and even contained some traces of feminine aura. His lips were a little thin, revealing an icy cold harshness. The lady beside him had long blue hair with an exquisite face, but she appeared like frost, looking like an ice beauty. The last elder was wearing an alchemist robe. Both of his hands were inserted into his sleeves. An occasionally stern glint flashed across his narrow eyes. That young man is called Yao Tian. He is the most outstanding person among the younger generation of the Yao clan. His spiritual strength has already reached the advanced heavenly state. He has once swallowed a medicinal pill that had nearly become a Tier 9 treasure pill. His actual strength is an intermediate 1-star Do Sheng, and he can be considered the most outstanding person in the Yao clan. It is rumored that he has once successfully refined a Tier 9 treasure pill. Xun Er softly spoke beside Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan slowly nodded. These ancient clans possessed an endless amount of resources. Even an idiot could be trained into an expert by them. Even less needed to be said of the people who possessed an extraordinary talent. Their achievements would be extremely terrifying. That lady is his younger sister, Yao Ling. Her strength might only be an initial Ban Sheng, but her spiritual strength is extraordinary. She is called the person with the highest possibility of training her soul to the D state within the Yao clan. That old man is an extremely experienced elder within the Yao clan. He is called. Yao Lao's somewhat hoarse voice continued before Xun Er could finish speaking. Yao Wangu. He manages discipline and punishment within the Yao clan and possesses great authority. His words can decide the life and death of a member of the Yao clan. Xiao Yan was slightly startled. He looked at Yao Lao, only to see that Yao Lao's body was trembling as he stared at the old man called Yao Wangu. Teacher? Xiao Yan softly called out. His hand also grabbed Yao Lao's arm. He could see that Yao Lao's emotions were in a bad state. I'm fine. Yao Lao softly sighed and shook his head. Is there a grudge between teacher and Yao Wangu? Xiao Yan softly asked. Yao Lao slightly tightened his fist. He was quiet for a moment before he explained in a somewhat hoarse voice. Back then, he had failed to distinguish what was right from what was wrong. Just one sentence from him and I was expelled from the clan. Xiao Yan quietly nodded. He gently patted Yao Lao's arm and a smile immediately surfaced on his face. Murderous intent filled that smile. It's fine. This disciple promise you that I will take this person's life. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 571. Chapter 1500. Not knowing what is good for oneself. Xiao Yan Gege. This Yao Wangu is an initial 4-star elite Do Sheng. He is extremely strong and it will not be easy dealing with him. Xun Er by the side opened her mouth and softly spoke after hearing Xiaoyan's words. I know my limits. Xiaoyan slightly smiled. An initial 4-star Do Sheng was indeed a little troublesome for his current self to deal with, but if he was able to successfully obtain the purifying demonic lotus flame and refine it, it would be an extremely easy matter for him to kill Yao Wangu. Xun Er did not say anything more after hearing Xiaoyan put it this way. She was aware that Xiaoyan was usually calm and would not easily do anything where he did not have the confidence to succeed. Yao Wangu's group's appearance in the sky had naturally attracted many pairs of eyes. The Yao clan could be considered a unique ancient clan. Most of its clan members were alchemists, and all of them possessed outstanding pill refinement talent. Thus, the Yao clan created a pill refinement atmosphere. If the ancient clans appear more often in the Central Plains, the reputation of the Pill Tower would end up suffering because of the Yao clan. After all, if one were to make a true comparison, the inheritance of the Yao clan was more complete. Regardless of how one looked at it, the semi-public nature Pill Tower lacked far behind the Yao clan. However, the rules of the Yao clan were extremely severe. Only their own clan members could learn their alchemist skills. Any outsider who learned them would end up attracting their murderous intent. This rule had also limited the development of the Yao clan, but this was something that could not be helped. The ancient clans felt arrogant when it came to ordinary people. Yao Wangu's group, who had appeared in the sky, slowly swept their eyes around them. Their eyes paused on the Hall of Souls trio some distance away as they frowned. The Han clan was the most mysterious clan among the 8 ancient clans. The remaining few clans were relatively afraid of them. If one were to compare, the Han clan was the clan with the longest inheritance. Has the Gu clan also come? Yao Wangu's eyes shifted away from the chief of the Hall of Souls group and suddenly paused onto Xun Er's group. His eyes moved and finally collided with Yao Lao, who was staring at him. Yao Chen, it is unexpected that someone like you, who was abandoned, has managed to reach the Do Sheng class. This really surprises me. Yao Wangu's eyes clashed with Yao Lao's eyes. He was slightly startled before he faintly smiled and made a comment. It is all thanks to you that I have been able to preserve this old life of mine. Yao Lao's eyes were a little dark and solemn as he replied. Yao Wangu calmly smiled when he saw Yao Lao's dark and solemn eyes. Although a 1-star Do Sheng was powerful, it was still nothing in front of him. He is that abandoned person, Yao Chen? It seems that the clan once gave him an opportunity to return, but he stubbornly rejected it? That handsome man's long eyebrow was slightly lifted after hearing Yao Wangu's voice. His eyes swept over Yao Lao as a harsh arc was lifted onto his thin lips. Yao Lao rejecting the offer to return to the clan had spread throughout the clan back then. That handsome man had even coldly laughed and said that this person did not know what was good for him. It was natural that he would ridicule Yao Lao now that they had met. After roaming around outside and making a name for himself, it is natural that one would think that one is extremely capable, causing one to end up becoming arrogant. Yao Wangu slightly smiled. His voice was steady, but it was not dislikable. The somewhat unfriendly atmosphere that had suddenly appeared was detected by those experts around. Many pairs of eyes were turned over, but no one opened their mouths to say anything. The Yao clan was an ancient clan. An ordinary expert would not dare to offend them. Hence, many people merely adopted the attitude of watching a show. There would coincidentally be some liveliness before the best opportunity to enter the space. Yao Lao's body trembled slightly after hearing the soft laughter that was emitted from those two. His character was usually quite calm, but being expelled from the Yao clan back then had always been the deepest thorn in his heart. His many years of self-cultivation would completely disappear each time this thorn was pulled, especially if the one messing with his thorn was the main culprit who had caused him to leave the clan back then. His soul has only reached the advanced heavenly state after training for so many years. This talent is only ordinary. Since he gave up the opportunity to return to the clan back then, there is no longer a need for the clan to remember this person in the future. Yao Tian shrugged his shoulders after seeing Yao Lao's green face. He felt that the whole situation was meaningless. He uttered one last sentence before being too lazy to continue. Yao Wangu laughed and immediately nodded. Despite training for so many years, your soul still remains at the advanced heavenly state. This name of being the top person among the Yao clan is really nothing. Xiao Yan gently patted Yao Lao's shoulder before he turned his head to look at Yao Tian. A smile appeared on his face as he softly remarked. Yao Tian and Yao Wangu were startled after hearing this person suddenly intervening. They shifted their eyes to Xiao Yan. Who do you think you are? Do you think you have the right to criticize me? Yao Tian stared at Xiao Yan. A cold arc rose on his face as he spoke. Xiao Yan, Yao Chen's disciple. Xiao Yan grinned, cupped his hands together, and replied. Oh, you are the pill-gathering champion of the Pill Tower, Xiao Yan? The arc on Yao Tian's face immediately became deeper upon hearing this. His eyes looked up and down Xiao Yan. He spoke in an indifferent voice. The so-called pill gathering is merely a group of useless people competing. Such a gathering can only be described as nothing in my Yao clan. In terms of position within the Yao clan, even Yao Chen does not have the qualification to speak to me in such a way. You should be lucky that Yao Chen is not a member of my Yao clan. Of course, since you cannot control your mouth, you should pay some price for the words you have uttered. That handsome face immediately turned icy cold after the final word was uttered from Yao Tian's mouth. He suddenly stepped forward as an unusually vast and mighty spiritual strength surged. It became a 100-foot large wave with a terrifying might as it violently swept toward Xiao Yan in a wild manner. Today, I shall help Yao Chen teach you, his disciple. Xiao Yan merely shook his head as he glanced at the giant spiritual wave that came sweeping over with a rumbling sound. The smile on his face was quietly withdrawn at this moment. After which, he lifted his hand in front of many pairs of eyes and gently clenched the empty space in front of him. Crack! Not even a hint of a Do Chi fluctuation appeared as he did so. However, that majestic spiritual wave instantly collapsed in front of many pairs of stunned eyes after Xiao Yan clenched his hand. A one-star Do Sheng with an advanced heavenly state soul dares to represent my teacher in teaching me? You really do not know your limits. A dense smile rose on Xiao Yan's face after he easily shattered the large spiritual wave with its shocking momentum by using just a palm. He took a step forward and clenched his fist. After which, he threw a punch at Yao Tian, whose face had revealed shock, from a distance. Bang! Xiao Yan threw a punch forward, and a 1,000-foot large spiritual fist was suddenly formed in the sky. There was a mysterious crystal layer covering that fist. At a glance, it looked as though it was real. An extremely powerful spiritual pressure suddenly erupted in all directions with Xiao Yan in the middle the moment he threw his punch forward. Perfect heavenly state. Many shocking noises reverberated within the sky after this powerful spiritual pressure was felt. Numerous pairs of eyes were filled with shock as they looked at the skinny figure in the sky. They would never have imagined that Xiao Yan was able to reach the perfect heavenly state at such a young age. How can this be possible? Yao Tian's, Yao Wangu's, and Yao Ling's expressions drastically changed at this moment. The perfect heavenly state was a level that even Yao Wangu had not achieved. How was it possible for Xiao Yan to reach this level at his age? The spiritual fist was extremely fast. The moment it was formed, it was already around 10 feet from Yao Tian. The terrifying spiritual pressure violently smashed toward Yao Tian's head. If this fist struck, it would cause Yao Tian's soul to suffer a serious injury. Young fellow, how dare you? Yao Wangu's expression sank after seeing that it was impossible for Yao Tian to dodge Xiao Yan's attack. He grabbed Yao Tian and tossed him back. At the same time, Do Chi suddenly surged from his body as his fist violently smashed against that spiritual punch. Bang! Yao Wangu took a step back after the two collided, but the spiritual fist in front of him had been forcefully received by him. A 4-star Do Sheng's strength was indeed extremely incredible. Elder Wangu, kill this brat! Yao Toin's expression alternated between green and white as he stood back. He had not expected to not be able to last one strike in Xiao Yan's hands. Moreover, this had occurred in public. Those strange gazes cast his way were like knives that ruthlessly cut his body. Both of his eyes turned bright red as he furiously cried out. Kai! However, Yao Toin's furious cry had just sounded when the space in front of him fluctuated. An invisible spiritual strength was swiftly gathered. Within the blink of an eye, a figure appeared in front of him in a ghost-like fashion. That appearance was surprisingly another Xiao Yan. Spiritual avatar? Yao Toin's eyes shrank after seeing this spiritual avatar appearing in a strange fashion. The dou qi within his body reflexively surged out. At this moment, even Yao Wangu was unable to come to his aid. However, the spiritual avatar in front of Yao Tian coldly smiled and raised his hand as the dou qi spluttered out of his body. A slap was thrown before a clear sound suddenly reverberated in front of many strange looks. Useless being, how dare you act arrogantly in front of my teacher? Treat this slap as a little lesson. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible.